"Mark, she's yours." Those were the first words my wife said to me after 3 years of silence. 3 years of hell. 3 years of wondering if she was dead in a ditch somewhere or living her best life without me. And there she stood on my doorstep, thin as a ghost, holding the hand of a little girl with dark curls and eyes that looked exactly like my mother's. I'm Mark Frederick, and this is the story of how my dead marriage came back to life, or maybe how it finally learned to die properly. I'm still not sure which. Please, before you continue, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The child stared up at me with those gray eyes, my mother's eyes, and tilted her head exactly the way my mother used to when she was thinking. The same dimple on the left cheek, the same stubborn cowlick in her hair that no amount of brushing could fix. "Her name is Emma," Jane whispered, and her voice cracked like she hadn't used it in years. "She turned 2 last month. Mark, I found out I was pregnant after I left." My knees buckled. I grabbed the doorframe to keep from collapsing. The number screamed in my head. 2 years old. Jane left 3 years ago. I counted backwards, my hand shaking. Our anniversary. 3 years and 3 months ago. Jane had been so emotional that night, so intense, like she was trying to memorize me. The next morning she'd been sick. I thought it was the wine. "Mommy, why is the man crying?" Emma's voice was small and sweet, and it shattered something in my chest. Before Jane could answer, I heard tires on gravel. A car door slammed. Rachel's voice called out, "Mark, I'm home early." I got the groceries for her. She rounded the corner, carrying paper bags full of food for the dinner we planned. Her eyes found Jane. The bags hit the ground. Apples rolled across the driveway. "Who is this?" Rachel's voice was ice. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed. I was staring at Emma, at the way her nose scrunched up when she was confused, exactly like mine did in every childhood photo. At her fingers, long and delicate like Jane's, but with my knuckles. Jane stepped forward, her whole body trembling. "I'm Jane, Mark's wife. I know I have no right to be here. But please, I need to explain." "Wife!" Rachel's voice went up an octave. "The wife who vanished 3 years ago? The wife you mourned like she was dead? That wife!" Emma started crying. The sound cut through everything else. She buried her face in Jane's leg, her tiny shoulders shaking. And that's when I noticed Jane's hands. They were trembling badly, uncontrollably. She tried to lift Emma, but nearly dropped her. I moved on instinct, reaching out to steady them both. Rachel watched this happen. Watch me touch my wife for the first time in 3 years. Watch me steady the child who might be mine. "Mark," Rachel said quietly, dangerously. "Inside. Now." Rachel pulled me into the kitchen, while Jane and Emma stayed frozen in the living room. The air felt thick, suffocating. Rachel's face was red, her eyes wet with tears she refused to let fall. "I stood by you for 8 months, she hissed, keeping her voice low so Emma wouldn't hear. 8 months while you mourned a ghost. I didn't push. I didn't complain when you checked your phone every 5 minutes, hoping for a message that never came. I held you when you cried in your sleep. But this? Mark, she abandoned you. And now she's back with a child she hid from you for 2 years. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. What could I say? She was right about everything. If you let her stay, Rachel continued, her voice breaking, I'm gone. I can't do this. I won't be the other woman in some twisted reunion story. Through the doorway, I watched Emma showing Jane her fingers, counting. 1, 2, 3. Her voice was high and pure, and something in my chest cracked open. I'd missed 2 years of that voice. 2 years of her learning to talk, to walk, to exist. Rachel, I need a paternity test first. I managed to say, but if that little girl is mine, if she's my daughter, I can't turn her away. She's 2 years old. She didn't choose any of this. Rachel's face crumbled. And what about us? What about the life we're building? The trip we planned? The apartment we were looking at together? From the living room, Emma called out in her tiny voice, Daddy? Can I have water? The word hung in the air like a bomb. Daddy. She already called me Daddy. Rachel stared at me, waiting for me to correct a child, to tell her I wasn't her father yet, to establish some boundary. But I couldn't, because looking at that little girl was like looking at every childhood photo of myself. The resemblance was impossible to deny. I walked to the sink, filled a plastic cup of water, and brought it to Emma. She took it with both hands, smiled up at me, and said, "Thank you, Daddy." When I turned around, Rachel was grabbing her purse. "I need time," she said. "Don't call me. I'll call you when I'm ready." She left. The door closed quietly behind her, which somehow felt worse than if she'd slammed it. 3 days later, I sat in a sterile clinic room with Jane and Emma. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Emma giggled when the nurse swabbed her cheek. "That tickles." I watched Jane fill out the paperwork. Her hand shook so badly the pen slipped twice. She quickly switched hands, but I'd already seen it. When the nurse left the room, I leaned forward. "Your hands," I said. "That's new." Jane pulled her sleeves down over her wrists. "It's nothing. I'm just nervous." "Don't lie to me." My voice came out harder than I intended. Not after 3 years of lies. "What's really going on, Jane?" Her facade shattered. Tears streamed down her face, and she looked away from Emma, who was playing with a toy in the corner. "I'm sick, Mark. That's why I left. I didn't want you to watch me die." The room tilted. "What?" Jane reached into her purse with trembling fingers and pulled out a medical file. The papers were worn, folded and refolded 100 times. Huntington's disease. Like my mother. Remember how she died? The tremors, the confusion, the way she didn't recognize me at the end. I remembered. I'd held Jane through her mother's funeral 5 years ago. Watched her mother waste away for 2 years before that. A brilliant woman reduced to a body that wouldn't obey her mind. The doctor told me the day before I left. Jane whispered. He said I was showing early markers, that I had maybe 10 or 15 years before it got really bad. I couldn't do that to you, Mark. I couldn't make you watch me disappear. Emma tugged on Jane's shirt. "Mommy, why you crying?" Jane wiped her face quickly. "I'm okay, baby." "Mommy's okay." But she wasn't okay. Her hands were still shaking. And now I understood why she'd come back. Not because she loved me, not because she missed me, but because she was dying and couldn't take care of our daughter alone anymore. The clinic door opened. The nurse smiled. "The results will be ready in 48 hours. We'll call you." 48 hours to know if my life was about to change forever. Again. I didn't call Rachel. She'd asked for space, and I owed her that much. But she called me on day 2, her voice tight and strange. "We need to talk," she said. "Coffee. That place on 5th. She was already there when I arrived, sitting in the back corner, an untouched latte going cold in front of her. I slid into the booth across from her. "I'm not leaving you," she said before I could even sit down properly. I blinked. "What?" "I'm not leaving," she repeated, but her voice shook. "But I'm not staying the same either. Mark, that little girl is probably your daughter. She needs you. And Jane, if she's dying, she needs help. I won't compete with a ghost or a dying woman." Relief flooded through me. But Rachel held up her hand. "Before you thank me, you need to know something. About me. About why I understand the situation better than you think." She took a breath. "Before Trevor got cancer, I cheated on him. Once. It meant nothing, but I was going to tell him. Then he got diagnosed. Stage 4. 6 months to live." I stared at her. She'd never mentioned this. Never even hinted. "I never told him," Rachel continued, her eyes filling with tears. "I nursed him, loved him, stayed by his side until he died. Everyone thinks I'm this saint who lost her soulmate. But Mark, I died with guilt, not grief. Trevor never knew the woman he loved had betrayed him. Rachel." "This thing with Jane," she interrupted. "It keeps me up at night. She left to protect you. I stayed to protect myself. Who's the real coward? So I'm not leaving you. Because if I do, I'm just running again. And I'm tired of running from hard things." She reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "But I need complete honesty. therapy for all of us. And time. Can you give me that? I nodded, unable to speak. And Mark, her grip tightened. I need you to answer one question honestly. Do you still love her? My silence answered everything. Rachel pulled her hand back slowly. That's what I thought. The DNA results came back 99.9% positive. I was Emma's father. I'd known in my gut, but seeing it on paper made it real in a way that hollowed me out. That night, after putting Emma to bed in my guest room, which I'd hastily filled with stuffed animals and princess sheets, I sat down with Jane. We were on opposite ends of the couch, an ocean of space between us. Tell me everything, I said. I deserve to know where you were, how you survived, why you kept my daughter from me for 2 years. Jane's story came out in broken pieces. She fled to a coastal town called Fairhaven, 6 hours north, got a waitressing job under a fake name, Julia Martin, lived in a 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat that smelled like bleach and loneliness. 2 months in, I got morning sickness, she said, staring at her trembling hands. I took 3 pregnancy tests in a gas station bathroom, all positive. I almost drove back that night. I parked outside our house at 3 a.m. I could see you through the window, sitting in the dark, holding my photo. You looked destroyed. I remembered that night. I remembered a lot of nights like that. I thought, if I go back now, I'll just destroy you twice, Jane whispered. Once when I leave, and again when this disease takes me. So I decided to keep the baby. Worked double shifts while pregnant. No insurance. No support. I gave birth alone in a county hospital. Her voice broke. Emma was born at 3:47 a.m. on March 15th. She didn't cry at first. They rushed her away. I thought I'd lost her. But then I heard this tiny wail, and they placed her on my chest, and Mark, she looked exactly like you. Jane pulled out her phone with shaking fingers and showed me a hidden folder. Hundreds of photos. Emma's first smile, first steps, first words. All cataloged, all saved. For you, she said. I was saving them for you. For when I was gone and she'd need to find her father. She needed her father 2 years ago. I said, anger rising. She needed him when she was born, when she learned to walk. You stole that from me, Jane. I know, she sobbed. I know. I learned to be a father overnight. Learned that Emma liked her toast cut into triangles, not squares. That she was afraid of the dark, but not of thunderstorms. That she had a stuffed rabbit named Mr. Hoppy, who had to be tucked in separately. One weekend, Emma had a nightmare. 2:37 a.m. I heard crying from her room and stumbled down the hall, half asleep. Jane was supposed to be helping, but her medication made her drowsy and she'd slept through Emma's cries. I pushed open the door. Emma was sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face, clutching Mr. Hoppy. Hey, Emma, I said softly, sitting on the edge of her bed. Bad dream. She nodded, her lip quivering. Want to tell me about it? Monster took Mommy away, she whispered, and I was all alone in the dark. My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. This little girl had already lost so much, and she didn't even know it yet. Didn't know her mother was dying. Didn't know I'd existed until a week ago. Emma, I promise you, I said, pulling her into my lap, you will never be alone. Daddy's here now. She looked up at me with those gray eyes. My mother's eyes. Real daddy? Not pretend. Real daddy. Forever daddy. She buried her face in my chest and fell asleep within minutes. I sat on the floor of her room for 3 hours, afraid to move, afraid to wake her, afraid this moment would disappear like everything else good in my life. At 5 a.m., Jane appeared in the doorway. She was crying silently, watching us. She took a photo on her phone. Later, I found the photo sent to my messages with a caption, "Thank you for being what I couldn't give her, a father who stays." I saved it in a folder. Didn't respond. Didn't know what to say. 2 weeks after Jane's return, I made a decision that was either brave or stupid. I invited Rachel to dinner to meet Emma officially. The air in my dining room was so tense you could cut it with a knife. Emma, innocent and oblivious, swung her legs under the table and asked Rachel, Are you Daddy's friend? Rachel forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Yes, sweetie, I'm his friend. Emma tilted her head, processing. Mommy says Daddy had a girlfriend. Are you the girlfriend? The room went silent. Jane flushed red, staring at her plate. Emma, eat your chicken nuggets. Rachel's jaw tightened. It's okay. She looked at Emma. Yes, I'm the girlfriend. Emma's face lit up like this was the best news ever. Oh, so if you're Daddy's girlfriend and Mommy is Daddy's wife, does that mean I get two mommies? I choked on my water. Jane looked horrified. Rachel's fork clattered to her plate. Emma, completely unaware of the bomb she just dropped, smiled brightly. My friend Zoe at daycare has two mommies. She says it's really cool because she gets two birthday cakes. Rachel stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Excuse me. She walked out the front door. I followed her outside, leaving Jane and Emma at the table. Rachel was on my porch, crying into her hands. I can't do this, Mark, she sobbed. I thought I could, but I can't. That little girl in there, she's beautiful and innocent, and I'm the outsider. I'll always be the outsider. She has a mother. She doesn't need me. Rachel. And you. She turned to face me, mascara running down her cheeks. You look at Jane like you're mourning what you lost. How am I supposed to compete with that? I had no answer, because she was right. I thought I had time. That's the lie we tell ourselves when someone we love is dying. We think we have weeks, months, years. We think we can prepare. Jane's body had other plans. It happened on a Tuesday. I was at work. Emma was at daycare. Jane was home alone, trying to make tea. Her hand trembled. The kettle slipped. Boiling water splashed across her arm. She screamed, dropped the kettle. It shattered on the kitchen floor. When I got the call from the paramedics, I broke every speed limit getting to the hospital. I found her in the ER, bandaged, trembling, humiliated. I couldn't hold the kettle, she whispered, staring at her hands like they betrayed her. What if Emma had been there? What if I'd hurt her, Mark? What if I dropped boiling water on my baby? A doctor pulled me aside in the hallway. Young guy, maybe 30, with kind eyes. Mr. Frederick, your wife's condition is progressing faster than we initially expected. She needs 24/7 care soon. She can't be left alone with a toddler. It's not safe for either of them. My world imploded. How long does she have? He hesitated. 5 years, maybe 10. But her quality of life will decline rapidly within 2. The tremors will get worse. Memory lapses will increase. Eventually, she won't recognize people she loves. I thought of Emma asking why the man was crying. I thought of Jane not remembering her own daughter's name. When I returned to Jane's room, she was crying harder than I'd ever seen. You have to take Emma. Full custody. I can't care for her anymore. Mark, I'm a danger to my own child. Jane, promise me. She grabbed my shirt with her bandaged hands. Promise me you'll keep her safe. Even from me. I promised. What else could I do? Later that night, after Jane was sedated and sleeping, I sat in the hospital chair and finally let myself break down. A nurse brought me terrible coffee. I didn't drink it. Jane woke around midnight, groggy from medication. When she saw me still there, she started crying again. I need to tell you why I really came back, she said. The whole truth. 6 months ago, Jane had a seizure while driving. Emma was in the back seat, strapped into her car seat, singing some children's song. The car veered off the road, hit a tree. Emma was fine, miracle. Jane woke up in a hospital with a concussion and a CPS worker standing by her bed. She said, "MS Martin, you're a single mother with a degenerative disease. You have no family, no support system. If you have another episode, we will remove your daughter and place her in foster care." Jane's voice shook. That was my nightmare, Mark. Emma growing up with strangers, never knowing her real name, never knowing she had a father who would have loved her, never knowing you. That's when I knew I couldn't be selfish anymore. You deserve to know your daughter. Emma deserved her father. Even if you hated me, even if you slammed the door in my face. She reached for my hand with her trembling fingers. That night, I showed Emma pictures of you, told her about how you made me laugh, how you always burned toast but made perfect scrambled eggs, how you cried at sad movies but pretended you weren't. She fell asleep looking at your photo. Why didn't you come back sooner? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Because I'm a coward, Jane said simply. And by the time I stopped being a coward, I'd already stolen 3 years from you. 3 years I could never give back. Family court was a special kind of hell. Fluorescent lights, uncomfortable chairs, lawyers in suits that cost more than my car. I was seeking full custody of Emma. Jane wasn't contesting it. Her condition made that impossible. But then Jane's parents showed up. I'd met them once at our wedding, where they'd sat in the back row and left before the reception. They'd disowned Jane when she married me instead of going to college like they planned. Hadn't spoken to her in 7 years. And now they wanted custody of Emma. Their lawyer stood up, a shark in a skirt suit. Your Honor, Mr. Frederick has a documented history of mental health issues. He attempted suicide 2 years ago. He's currently on psychiatric medication. He's in a relationship with another woman while housing his estranged wife. This is not a stable environment for a child. Every eye in the courtroom turned to me. Emma was in the back with a social worker, coloring oblivious. The judge looked at me over her glasses. Mr. Frederick, is this true? Did you attempt suicide? My throat closed. The room spun. I thought about lying, but what was the point? Yes, Your Honor. I stood up. I stood on a bridge 2 years ago. I was broken. My wife had vanished. I felt like I had failed her, failed myself, failed everyone. But I didn't jump. I chose to live. I chose to heal. And now I'm choosing to be the father my daughter deserves. Jane suddenly stood up, grabbing the table for support. Your Honor, may I speak? The judge nodded, surprised. Jane walked to the stand, hands trembling violently. My parents kicked me out when I was 18 because I married Mark instead of becoming what they wanted me to be. They haven't spoken to me in 7 years. They didn't call when my mother, their daughter-in-law, died. They don't want Emma out of love. They want her because she's a second chance to control someone. She turned to face her parents in the gallery. Her father was stone-faced. Her mother looked away. You destroyed me, Jane said, voice steady despite her shaking body. You will not destroy my daughter. Mark is the best man I know. Give him our child. Please. The judge was silent for a long moment. Then she ruled. Full custody to me. Supervised visitation for Jane. No rights for the grandparents. Jane's parents left without a word. I never saw them again. Emma's 3rd birthday fell on a Saturday in March. I threw her a party at the house. Streamers, balloons, a cake shaped like a unicorn, because that's what she wanted. Jane came in her wheelchair, symptoms accelerating faster than anyone predicted. I'd hired a home nurse to help her. I didn't expect Rachel to show up. We hadn't spoken in weeks. But there she was at my door, holding a wrapped present. I wouldn't miss her birthday, Rachel said quietly. Emma saw her and shrieked with joy. Rachel, you came. She ran over and hugged Rachel's legs. The party was surreal. Me, Rachel, and Jane in a wheelchair. 3 broken adults pretending everything was normal. Singing happy birthday to a 3-year-old who deserved magic instead of this complicated mess. When Emma blew out her candles, she didn't close her eyes. She looked at all of us and said out loud, I wish we could all stay together forever. Rachel started crying. She turned away so Emma wouldn't see. After the party, after Emma was asleep, Rachel found me on the porch. I'm leaving, Mark, she said. Not because I don't love you. I do. But Emma deserves a family that makes sense. And I'll always be the complication. Rachel, you're not. I am. She smiled sadly. And that's okay. You need to figure out what family looks like now. Jane needs you. Emma needs you. And I need to stop trying to fit into a space that was never mine. She kissed my cheek. Thank you for reminding me what it feels like to love someone, even if it hurts. She walked to her car and drove away. I watched her taillights disappear and felt the last piece of my old life break off and float away. 1 year later, Jane was gone, passed away in her sleep 4 months after Emma's birthday party. Emma was 4 now in preschool, thriving despite everything. I'd sold the old house, too many ghosts, and bought a new one with a yard and a purple room for Emma. She talked about Mommy Jane, the way kids talk about favorite memories, with love, but not pain. Not yet, anyway. That would come later. I was at a parent-teacher conference when I bumped into someone coming out of the art room. Rachel. We stared at each other, frozen. She looked different, lighter somehow, like she put down something heavy. I volunteer here, she said. Art teacher assistant. Tuesdays and Thursdays. I didn't know Emma went here. Rachel. Emma came running down the hallway, paint on her hands and face. Daddy, Miss Rachel, look what I painted. She held up a picture of 3 stick figures holding hands. Who's this? I asked, pointing to figures. That's you, and that's me, and that's Miss Rachel, Emma said proudly. We're going to the park. She grabbed both our hands. Can Miss Rachel come to dinner? Please? I miss her. Rachel looked at me, a question in her eyes. I nodded. Yeah, dinner sounds good. That night, sitting around my table with Emma chattering about preschool and Rachel laughing at her stories, something settled in my chest. Not happiness exactly. Not yet, but something close. After Emma went to bed, Rachel and I sat on the porch like we used to. I'm not here to pick up where we left off, she said. I'm not trying to replace Jane. I just missed you both. We missed you too. Maybe we could try being friends first? Rachel offered. No pressure. No expectations. Just see what happens. I extended my hand. Friends. She shook it, then pulled me into a hug. From her bedroom window, Emma watched us. She whispered to Mr. Hoppy, I think Daddy's going to be happy again. She pulled out a photo from her nightstand, Jane holding baby Emma in the hospital. Good night, Mommy Jane. I'm taking care of Daddy, just like you asked. Family isn't who stays or who leaves. It's who shows up, who chooses love, who does the hard work of healing together. I didn't get a fairy tale ending. I got something better, a real one. Emma would grow up knowing her mother loved her enough to bring her home, and her father loved her enough to stay. And Rachel? Maybe she was part of our story again. Maybe not. But the door was open. Because that's what healing looks like. Not perfect, not clean, but honest and full of hope.